All right. Hello, everyone. I'm back at my shop tonight, and I'm going to be working on this. Well, that's backwards. I have to point this way, not this way. I'm going to be working on these hammers behind me. Last time I was in here, this is still the 19. I think we decided it was a 1901 Steinway A. But and as you go up the scale, starting to get into the treble section, it had a weird tone that was kind of weak and nasal. And we found that if the hammers were hitting the strings further towards the pianist, about an eighth of an inch from where they were glued, then the tone was much more what I would consider normal for a piano. And you know, I mean, we duplicated the action that was there as far as where we hung the hammers initially. So now I want to see if it was a good move, if we did it right, if it's in a good spot. But in order to get a true sense of the sound, when I glue those hammers on, they might be twisted a little bit left or right. So we have to make sure that they're twisted correctly. So I'm going to be using heat. Now these hammer shanks are made out of maple, and when we heat it up, we can apply gentle pressure, and once it reaches a certain temperature, the wood will twist, and then it'll stay there as it cools. It's very handy for alignment of hammers. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And then if all sounds good, I'm going to take a sound test. And if it sounds good, then at that point, we're going to trim the excess shank that's on the back and go from there. And eat our dinner in the process. Okay. All right. So without further delay, this is the section that we changed. Okay. And if we look down from the top, it's almost an eighth of an inch different. If you look at the lines there, and then boom, it goes in for this section, and then boom, it goes out. Now we want to see what that sounds like too, but all in good time. Oh, I want to show you too that so we hung them differently, so there's a little bit of the shank poking through. If this is indeed their final position that we're going to end up with, we're going to want to trim that off in a moment. Okay, so let me just get you situated where you can see things. And I'm going to need to pull my phone out of its little home. I think I had to use a different phone than I was streaming with earlier because the battery on that one's just about gone. Okay. So I'm going to attempt to get you down level, seeing what I'm kind of seeing, okay? And I'll go ahead and rotate this. Hey, looks like some people joined tonight. Welcome. We're messing with some hammers on this 1901 Steinway, continuing to. Okay. Now, it is a little tricky because I just wish this view were bigger. Let's make it bigger. So we're going to solo this view of the hammers. There we go. And the other thing about a camera lens is it's a one lens, right? And so things bend out from the center, so you don't get as good of a view as I do with two eyes, right? You'd have to look at each one. Like right now, it's we're looking at that one correctly, and that but we can't look straight down more than one at a time. But let me see if I can point out something on one that's obvious to you. Okay. So this hammer, as I pull it up, let's get in the view that I see here. It's leaning. Let's see, it's leaning a little bit to the left. Okay, and you can see there's a big space on the right and no space on the left. So we need to twist that. Okay, and this is how we're going to do it. Let me grab my heat gun. have my nice cart here, and grab an extension cord. Okay. So this heat gun is going to be. Let me just backtrack a little bit. This heat gun is really cool. I bought it a long, long time ago, and I haven't been able to find one exactly like it. But you can adjust the temperature on it and how much flow comes out of it. Very cool. So I'm going to push power, and on this heat gun, you can do. There's some numbers there. I'm going to set it down to 750, and that avoids scorching the wood a little bit. Okay. Now you're going to hear some of the heat gun noise, but we're going to work on this hammer that's leading in. Okay, and I'm just going to heat right here, and with my hand, oops, I need to fix that. Okay. With my hand, I am slightly twisting the direction I want to, slightly putting pressure the direction I want to twist. But I'm very, very sensitive to not break anything, and I feel the wood, and you can feel when it kind of becomes pliable. Okay, so right there I can feel it kind of moving under the pressure of my hand, and I don't want to scorch the wood too bad. I can sand it a little bit to clean it up after, but still. I'm going to hold it there for a second to cool. Now I'm going to drop it. Okay, didn't make much of a difference yet. It's still pretty twisted there. Okay. Now I'm going to get your view large over here again. Let's make this view as large as possible. Okay. So we're working on this hammer, trying to get him straight. Okay, I'm going to heat this up, just up and down the shank here. Okay, then I'm going to let go. I can feel that this shank isn't bending that direction as well as some do, so we might be, but it will. It will give. I just have to get it hotter in this case. Okay, now the distance you see on either side of that hammer is equal. And if I hold it up, and this is really hard to see with a one-eyed camera, but if I hold it up, it's now straight instead of leaning, okay? This one is pretty straight. This one's pretty straight. This one, however, is leaning. Let's see how close I can get to view that, but it is leaning. Just tilt it to the left there a little bit. I'm going to heat this, put very, very gentle pressure. And I know about, from doing this a lot, I know about how many seconds it's going to be, and then it's going to become pliable. So I'll slightly increase my pressure when I know the wood is a little bit pliable. There, this one flowed a lot better than the other. Let it cool and drop it. There. Now it's straight up and down. This one next to it now, leaning quite a bit, right? So same thing. Heat it up. And this area, these notes that I'm working on now, were the very notes that were the reason why I'm rehanging this hammer in this section here. They sounded weird. They sounded nasal and choked. And when I plucked the string, there was a nice sustained open sound. But then when I'd hit it with the hammer, it was a choke sound, kind of a giveaway that it's probably not hitting the hammer or the string in the sweet spot. Okay. This one's a little more subtle. It's leaning to the right just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and make that correction. And again, this is the 1901 Steinway that I was working on. All right, went a little far, so I can always go back just a little bit. This one's pretty good. It's leaning to the right just a bit. All right. I still will have to stick this in the piano and look and make sure it lines up, that each hammer lines up with the strings and that they're evenly spaced. I'll have to kind of redo some of that work, but it won't be as hard as it was initially. But if I just stuck this in the piano after moving these hammers, I wouldn't get a real idea of the tone because the hammers would be tilted. They would only be hitting one string, and glancing the others, and that would sound strange. It wouldn't give me a real good idea of what's truly going on. Okay, so we're continuing on, just straightening as I see it. And you can do this to any kind of piano. You could do it with an alcohol lamp, really anything that heated, but some things are going to scorch the wood more than others, right? So this heat gun's really great in that I can adjust the temperature. So it makes the job a little bit faster because I don't have to pull it away from the shank just to keep it from burning all the time. So I'm straightening these out. Sometimes it's a little back and forth. This is definitely a job that you need to do in multiple passes. Okay, overdid it. There we go. Now these hammers have lines that were marked on them, but it was a little premature. We haven't needled anything or tried to mate this. Oh, I did mate the strings to the hammer, so I will have to redo that actually in this section. I forgot about that. That's okay. It's not a big deal. Just a little more work, a little extra work. Okay, this one's leaning to the left. See if I can get you to see that at all in the view, just a little bit. This is kind of hard to see, this job. It's taken years to kind of really see it clearly, which you wouldn't think it would, but it does. Because the hammer is tapered down towards the tail, and so you're not looking at I don't know, it just makes it hard to see when it's straight up and down. This one's leaning to the left. Okay. This is much easier to see when you're, like I said, when you're looking at it not through a camera lens. Okay, that one's pretty straight actually. Just leaning a little bit to the right on this one. The reason why, if you weren't tuned in before, the reason why these are leaning is that we re-glued them in a new position. And anytime you do that, it's hard to get it exactly straight up and down. And I don't fuss over it too much. I just glue them on, and then I do this after. Okay, just about there. Thinking it's starting to look pretty good. And these hammers were evenly spaced before, so, you know, that's a giveaway too in this case, because I didn't move the shanks. So if they end up more evenly spaced again, then I know I'm really close to the alignment I had with the strings. Okay, I think that's almost there. Great. Okay. Just kind of keep going back and forth and see if something catches your eye. But I think we're pretty close there. So, all right, we're going to stick it in the piano. That gun has to go through a cool down cycle for a minute. But first we need to attach this to the keys, right? Right. Okay, get the camera out of the way here. All right, we're going to move this. Grab the keyboard. Okay. Set the stack on the keyboard. Grab my screws. I love using these pill bottles to keep screws in. They're really, really handy. Here's a little tip. Some of these are hard to get your fingers into. Just get one of these little magnet pickup tools. Stick it in the hole. And you don't have to reach down with your fingers so much. Okay. Good. All right, we've got those on there. Just gonna screw them on. Okay. Tack that down. Tack the front of the other side. Remember, I back thread these screws so that they get in the same threads so that they can be removed several times and put back again without doing damage to the piano. Okay. Let's see here. We've got a comment in the chat. I didn't know anyone was around. Hotkeys. That's right. With the heat gun, that's a hot. You can create a hotkey. A hammer, anyway. Okay. Screw these down. Now, I think someone did some regulation. And I say someone because it wasn't me, I promise. Someone in the shop did some regulation. And I think they didn't have one of these screws cinched down. So the hammer line might be off. We'll see. That might need to be adjusted later, but that's not going to affect what I'm trying to look at now, which is the tone change from moving these hammers. So, okay, one more screw here. Yeah, okay, look. So I'm going to show you what happens if you forget to screw in one of these action screws all the way, and then you set your hammer line, like it goes, and then over, because those screws weren't in on the front. So we'll have to tame that. It's not a big problem, not a big emergency, just means we'll change the regulation a little bit. Okay, so now I need to stick this in the piano. I need to make sure the strings are aligned, the hammers are aligned to the strings the way they were before, in order to get a good listen to it. Especially since I already took some time to mate the strings to the hammers. Let's turn this camera around and get a better view here. Okay. Well, I can already tell you that I like it better, but we still need to align it. Still need to align it to the strings. And I'm going to trim the shanks, and this won't affect that in a bad way. We can still do that after we align to the strings, okay? Now I want to show you how I go about aligning things to the strings on these pianos. You'll see there's spaces in between the hammer flanges, okay? So if I want to move a hammer left or right, I can stick my skinny tool in between these flanges, and I can kind of, crank it, pry it one way or another, and scoot that hammer over. Now it will affect its neighbor, okay? So you have to kind of practice a little bit. But first I'm going to just take a look and see what we have. So far they're lining up really exactly with where we had them. Not seeing anything that I feel the need to scoot over yet. Okay, we might have lucked out a little bit. Okay, yeah, so we kind of lucked out. So our work is done here. No, but it's obviously it's working really well. So let's listen to this again. Now I think I can simulate where it was earlier by pushing the action in about 1/8 of an inch and listening to these notes. Now out. And that might not even be all the way where it's going to be. Let's see. There. It just sounds more open and clear. It doesn't sound so nasal and choked off. Okay, it's sounding pretty good for a starting place. I'm actually going to put some paraloid B72. I'm just going to put drops on pretty much the whole thing except this tenor area. And I'm feeling how loud it is or bright when I play soft is. I'm going to put more than drops actually here. I'm going to put a stripe. Let's see. Jeffrey says, "Is this restoration for a customer?" Yes, yes. I pretty much do only for customers because I do the work for the dealer, the Steinway dealer, and some people know that the Steinway's biggest competition, the biggest competition for the sale of a new Steinway is a rebuilt used Steinway currently, and so if I were to do a whole lot of buying, rebuilding, and selling, that would be in direct competition there. And also, right now, the market's not as great for that as it used to be. Um, so I strictly do it for customers. Well, I say strictly. Every once in a while, I'll do one that I pick up for a good price. So, in fact, I have one that's getting a new soundboard across the shop that we'll do in the coming weeks and months. So, paraloid, that's where we were. I'm going to put some paraloid on here. And I'm not going to put it on this lower tenor. That lower fifth. Because I don't want to fight that getting too bright all the time. I have to use a shield here so we don't eat into our new finish here on accident. And I'm just going to let it soak in the tops as I move across at a certain rate. I said I was going to skip this fifth, so I will. Maybe even a little more. I'll skip the start about at D3 here. And just run this across. Okay. And just do the same thing across the whole thing. And then I might, here in the in this treble section, I might also do a stripe just down on the shoulders here. And on the back side, same thing. And I'll do that also in the top section, just below the string cuts. Oh, what do you know? I'm out of paraloid. I need to get some more. But I already have a bunch mixed up, so just the paraloid. Let's see. Jeffrey says, "What kind of wood is the soundboard made of?" The soundboard is made of spruce. There's, from what I understand, there's a few different kinds of spruce that can be used. Currently, I get my soundboards made by a company called Bolduc in Canada. So I'm assuming it's Canadian spruce. Not positive on that. I have one in the box over here that came back from them that they duplicated a soundboard, and I haven't opened it up yet. And then I have two more on the way. But I don't make my own soundboards. I don't have a press for that, or an interest in doing it. But it is kind of a pain having to ship the old ones out. Be nice if there was someone local, that I wanted to make me a board. Okay, I'm just getting some more paraloid here. Soundboards, the spruce is really good because it's flexible in certain directions and really strong. So it should last a long time. So and its properties allow it to radiate the sound waves well, I guess. So you'll find structural woods in the piano. A lot of them are a hard maple, hardwoods, and then you'll have spruce and things that are more flexible for the soundboard, so they can be bent and put under stress that way. This piano didn't get a new soundboard, but you wouldn't know it almost just because we did some repairs that turned out pretty good on it. So. All of a sudden, it's a lot more mellow because I've soaked it with liquid, but in not very much time, it's not going to be mellow. That's for sure. And what else was I going to say? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, we're going to pull this out and trim the shanks, the excess shanks off of those hammers that we re-glued. And I'm going to need to unscrew it from the keyboard in order to do that. Again. Let's get a double camera thing going on here, maybe. Does this piano have ivory keys? Jeffrey wants to know. This piano, it did. It no longer does. We've had them recovered with synthetic ivory, which actually I prefer because the old ivory's hard to work with, and you can't work with new ivory. There's laws now with selling it, and I'm not particularly fond of genuine ivory, honestly, as a part to put on an instrument. I don't really care. I'd rather, for me, it's all about the feel of it and how smooth and consistent the keys feel. So that's the reasoning for that. Let's see, we're going to do I'm going to unscrew these screws again, take the stack off. Once I get all my paraphernalia out of the way. Okay. There we go. So with my magnet pickup, I can just unscrew these and then pluck them out here in a moment. While I'm thinking of it, and I have this action out, I'm going to put some acetone in the action centers like I was showing in a previous stream, working on the 9-foot Steinway. Okay, get my pill bottle here so I don't lose any important screws. Okay. All right, we're going to take the stack off, get the keyboard out of our way. Let's see, Jeffrey asks, so the ivory removal was part of the restoration? Yes, Yes. And I don't do any key work myself. I mean, much of it. I don't do key tops. I don't do key bushings because we have someone here locally who's very good at it. And I've never seen anybody do a key top job that I thought, wow, this looks like a new piano, except for him. So I know they're out there, but they're not available to me. So okay. So what we're after, we're gonna turn this around and get out the Dremel. And we're gonna set out to trim these little stubs on there that are left from hanging the hammer further that way. And let me get my Dremel tool for that. This is the way I like to do this anyway. I'll show you. I'm missing a screwdriver. I need to tighten this bit down. I need to get a small screwdriver. Okay, so the way I like to trim these is with this cutoff wheel, which is meant for, I think, mainly metal, but it cuts through the wood by burning it. That's how I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna change my bit here on the Dremel to this cutting tool. Leave it nice and long. And tighten it down. Then let me get my extension cord. And I'm gonna shave this shank material really close to the hammer molding, the hammer tail, but not touching it. Let's see. Okay, let's see if I can get any view on this. Where's a good camera angle, huh? I mean, that's pretty close. Okay, now I'm gonna enlarge the screen here real quick. Okay, let's see if that's easier to see. A little bit. Let's do the tripod. Get really close here and down on this. Okay, that's about as good as we can get. Let me go get some eye protection and cut these off. Okay. All right, here we go. And I realize immediately as I get into this that these are so short that I don't need to cut them with the wheel first. In fact, it's harder. Usually I'll cut them with the wheel when there's a longer space, and then I'm going to follow through with a die grinder to sand them. All right, I'm going to use this die grinder. Connect to some air. Make sure I have enough slack and everything here. Okay. So this one I'm going to go this other angle here with the camera. Can't really see that, can we? There we go. All right, here we go. It takes a long time to sand those down. I wonder if I can just do a better job with the Dremel here. Just do a more careful job so I don't scorch the wood too much around it. As you can see, we're left with all these black dots here, and things are much closer to the wood. It seemed, I just felt silly cutting off so little, but apparently it's what was needed, you know? So I'm going to came out of the view there. Okay. So now I'm going to sand these. Hmm. One more to go here. There, now all the black dots are white dots, and we're flush there with the wood. Am I removing excess for balance? It does remove weight for sure. I don't want any extra weight back there with the hammer. But also you just want them flush. You want to make sure that they don't, if they're really long, they would interfere with the back checks. But yeah, I think weight is a good reason. So, all right. There. Okay, so we have those trimmed. Last thing I'm going to do tonight is put this back together, stick it back in the piano, and give a listen with that paraloid, and then I'll continue in the morning with this job after tuning or so. So now, put my tool back here. And I love the smell of burning maple. That's what we get when we do that in here. Let's see, I better blow that off also. see if we still get that going. Yeah, good, good. Okay, we'll stick the snap on. Right. Gonna screw those screws in place. Oh, and that's right. I was also going to apply some acetone to these joints, and I'll do that now. Makes sense to do it now. Usually with most pianos, anything we can do to lighten things up is a good idea. Don't run into too many pianos that are too light. It happens with some, but not many. You know, and I think trends of what people want in the action have maybe changed here and there, back and forth from lighter to heavier to. And I don't know why that is for sure. Just like, you know, trends of more bright sound, more mellow sound, that has changed too. Um, you know, we're trending a little more bright these days, with a lot of influence of, I don't know, just the pianists that are playing, I guess, and what we hear. I think a lot of people, you know, out there, a lot of people have heard, like, for instance, a Yamaha sound on a digital piano or in a recording a lot. And so to some people, that's just what a piano sounds like to them. Others would think that was too bright. Speaking of Yamahas, I am going to prep a brand new C7 in the coming weeks, and I'll stream that just because it sounds fun to stream. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here on this piano. Let's just get this down. And oh, forgot to do the acetone. I forgot. And the first thing I'm going to do, oops. Got my bottle out, but I didn't pull it out. Make sure I get the right bottle. So I'm applying acetone to the hammer flanges, and I'll show you. I'll do a demo of why right here. Okay. So here we have a part. I can feel a significant amount of resistance as I move this with my finger. You want the part to be tight and aligned, not wobbly, but also very free in its motion. Let's count how many swings from this position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now I'm going to apply just a tiny drop of acetone to each side of this center pin. Now we're going to count the swings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It drastically reduced the friction on that system. And it'll probably go a little more free here in just a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, and it's not made it any more wobbly, it just made it more free, which will make this action feel nice and responsive and quick. That trick will not work. I don't think it works on, it's only going to work on parts that have been treated, where the cloth has been treated with some impregnated Teflon, is my understanding. I'm going to go and put that back in. And I'm going to go ahead and apply acetone to all the hammer flange center pins. It only takes just a tiny little drop to soak in there. Now, a minute ago, or several minutes ago, this piano was we put some hardener on the tops of the hammers, and right afterwards, it sounded very mellow because the liquid was still wet and causing the felt to be very soft. And when we put this back in, it'll be quite different here. And listen to it, it'll be quite bright. I still have some work to do on the dampers of this piano, some fine work to end up, but at this stage of the game, I kind of just wait and I get the sound where I want it first, and any other major things, and then I can refine with the dampers as we go. There is a damper problem on this piano, though, that I'm not sure why it's doing it, so it'll be interesting to get into it a little bit. See if we can solve the problem. Okay. All right, I've applied that now. That will just help the action feel nice and quick and smooth. Running the keyboard like that to work in some of the hardness of the hardener I applied. It's I'm going to see if our position of the action is optimal. It's interesting, this very top didn't come up stronger. I want it, if anything, I want the very top a little stronger than the rest. So I need to, I'm going to apply a little more paraloid B72 just to the surface of the hammers here. And we'll take that a little bit to harden. But you don't, I'm not going to be too sparse with it. I'm pretty liberal with it here. Okay with that. And I'm also going to do a little more here, actually. Just in that section. Listen to the, I'm going to listen to the bass again. See if it's if it's come up where we want it. Of course, that's really mellow where we haven't. My computer battery's about to die here. Better plug that in. Where it's still wet, right? So I am going to apply some to the very bottom of the bass section. It is possible to overdo it, but maybe more. Another way to look at it is it's possible to maybe make the hammers hard enough to where it just creates a little more work to get the sound you want afterwards with needling. But I don't mind that so much. It's better than having a weak piano. And I like the tone of a piano that's been brought up really strong and then finessed in its tone from by needling afterwards. So that that'll take, a few minutes to harden, 15 minutes or so. And I think I'm going to call it for the night though, and just come back to it in the morning and voice it from there. Plus, I've been working, kind of burning the candle at both ends lately, so I won't mind getting to bed a little earlier. Actually, it's about the same time as I've been stopping every night. But anyway, thanks for joining though. Thanks for watching this. Any questions you have, hey, feel free to comment, and I'm happy to kind of reach out or respond to any comments or questions you have on this on these piano issues. It's kind of fun. So anyway, take care, and we'll see you next time.